the similarities and the differences between spirituality, religions, witchcraft, and atheists, and science. And how there's been such a war in between those topics for so long, and how there doesn't need to be at all. I'm going to break this thought process down a little bit more from my personal experience, because that's all I got is my personal experience. I was born and raised in a Christian household. Now, my church didn't focus on going to heaven or hell. It was more about being rewarded for your good works and being saved by Jesus dying, which of course left me asking a bunch of questions that made the church uncomfortable. But I didn't have a hate relationship with my church or with my family over religion, not when I was younger. So that's the first part. Growing up in the church, I was really into the worship part, the singing part, but I also would go through this phase of feeling guilt and shame and purging my life of anything that was not what I felt was Christian. So there was a lot of guilt and shame that I put on myself, not necessarily that the church put on me. Like, I remember I loved, like, I had vampire stuff and dark images on my room and even my CDs, because, you know, I was born in 1982, guys. So I had my CDs, and I would go through this phase, like after a church retreat or something, and I would go, no, this isn't Christian. This isn't how a Christian is. And I would rip stuff off my walls, and I would break my CDs. And I would purge everything of me that was not deemed holy, like that was considered maybe evil. So that was big. I have spoken before that I had a connection with spirits even when I was younger, but I didn't consider it dark or evil. They were just there. I was like, oh, okay, ghosts exist, like, and they talk to me, no big deal. And they wouldn't really talk to me. They would just be there, but I could talk to them and they can understand me. It's a whole long story that I have a series on, actually. But that part I didn't consider dark or evil. Like, I didn't use any kind of divination tools. I didn't even know of them. I knew that I would not touch a Ouija board, I would not touch tarot cards, and I would not do Bloody Mary in the mirror, because that shit is real, and I wasn't going to open myself up to that kind of energy. That's where I was. I didn't judge others. I remember the closest to judging that I got was, I understand that these people are reckless and cause havoc in the school because they probably don't go to church and they probably just don't have that influence in their life. That's as far as that judgment part went for me when I was younger. When I was 18, I had a falling out with the church, mostly with my youth minister, and I was moving from my hometown in Florida over to live in Phoenix, Arizona. And that was when I started to really have that falling out. But right before the falling out of the church, I tried acid for the first time. And it opened my eyes to something, in my mind to something that I didn't know, because I didn't drink or smoke or do anything before that. And opening my mind up to the universe like that changed everything. I just felt like connected, to everything. And there was this big feeling of there is no God. That was a hard thing for me at the age of 18, 19. Without God in my life, age 18 to probably around 23, I was more focused on partying. Punk rock shows, raves, sex, drugs. I had no focus on future existence. I had no dwelling of past. I wasn't trying to heal anything. I was kind of just existing. So even when I was considered more atheist, I wasn't seeking to prove anything to anyone. I wasn't exactly asleep either. I was self-discovery. But in a pretty, destructive way. There really wasn't anything constructive about it, just more stuff I needed to heal later on. I wasn't really aware of my need for some kind of focus. 23 is where I started to pick up a new focus. I was recognized for my abilities and my strengths in the restaurant community, and I was made a manager at age 23. So that became my purpose. Teaching others, helping others, training others, responsibility, stepping up the career ladder. If I have something to focus on, I'm extremely successful. And with my focus on something, it gave the universe an opportunity to present something new to me on the spiritual side of things. That's when I was living with a boyfriend at the time whose mother was Wiccan, and she had tarot cards. And then my Christianity self went, I'm not ready for that part. And so she introduced me to astrology. And my desire to understand humans, not just myself, really thrived with astrology being introduced to me. With the focus of management and real training, real life training, and helping others thrive, and then introducing the astrology aspect of it and helping me understand humans on a better level so that I could not only help them grow in a way that was conducive to their programming, but also entertain and laugh, because astrology can be used as a party trick quite often, and it's a successful one if you're really interested in it and can apply it to situations and to people. And with those focuses, I no longer was on a self-destructive path. I was on a growth path, because spirituality of some sort is in my DNA structure. It's in me being a human. It catapults my growth to have focus like that. So this brings me a little bit to the point where I'm introduced to tarot cards and I'm not afraid to use the tarot cards. It actually took a lot for me. Like, I got a tarot app first and watched tarot readings on YouTube, but still there was a part of me that was like, no, I can't, because of fear of the Christian upbringing, even though I wasn't connected to that at all anymore. But also meeting my ex-husband was the first time I felt like a soulmate connection like that. And that brought me a little bit more to the God side, because it's like God made an exact match for me kind of thing. And the tarot stuff got me introduced to the twin flame concept. And then my physical world fell apart and my ex-husband went to prison, and there's a whole lot there. My physical world had been falling apart like that for a while, but I still had work and management as a goal. Now I'm going to start talking to you a little bit more about masculine energy and feminine energy and how it all comes into play. I'm not talking about gender. I'm not talking about sexual orientation. I'm literally talking about the positive, negative of a battery, or the positive, negative of a cell, masculine, feminine aspects, the black and the white of everything, the duality of it, and the energy spectrum, the upper chakras, the lower chakras, all of that. I'm a more masculine energy. Even in all the story up to this point, my focus was on networking, getting to know people, growth in my physical existence, success for my future. Masculine energy is more get it done energy. They're goal driven. They also find the quickest way to do things, and they're not very ritualistic. I mean, as humans, we all like rituals, but for the most part, the masculine isn't as romantic about the rituals. Opening up to the twin flame concept really, and getting into the tarot cards and stuff, really opened up my feminine energy more. But I was still more of a masculine energy surrounded by feminine energies, like in the twin flame groups on Facebook. Everyone else felt like it was more of a romantic soap opera, whining in the comments, and I was like, hey, we all found each other, let's get to work. Like, we do this spiritual shit, you do the spiritual shit, let's do this spiritual shit together. It was networking still, even though I was getting more in touch with the feminine aspects of the spirituality and surrounded by the divine feminine. I was definitely a masculine droplet in all of that energy. Yeah. But as my feminine nature opened up more, I was introduced to Reiki and things of this nature. I started to dress more feminine. I actually had crystals and incense and candles. And I shake my head because that stuff is so not me. The way that I do my work, my spiritual work, now, in this day, where I am now, is more on the matrix side of things. Downloads of energies, downloads of light codes, deprogramming, defragging, building the coding, pulling out of the matrix, teaching, guiding, but like teaching the quickest way possible to do things. Now, the teaching and the guiding can be both masculine and both feminine. They're both very successful. That energy is both very successful in teaching and guiding. But I don't teach rituals. I teach the quickest way to get things done. I started to say the most effective, but that's a load of bullshit. Any way that works for you is the most effective way. I teach you my most effective way. Now I'm going to get more into how things are alike and different and why, in my perspective of these topics. All of these topics are extremely, extremely similar. And I would say that I know for me, I've gone through every stage of this, but spirituality and science have been the root of my entire life. Spirituality gives me some kind of connection, some kind of thing outside of myself and through myself to connect to the world around me and push me forward. Science gives me the desire to explore, to have critical thinking, to look not only outside of myself to other humans, but also to the planet and the solar system and how it's all connected. It gives me avenues of research and puts concepts in tangible forms. So spirituality and science are the driving forces behind all of these topics. I don't quite understand why there needs to be a battle or a war when it comes to these topics when they are both rooted in spirituality and science. Actually, the only ones in this group that would argue that are probably atheists. But the ones that are passionate about spreading their awareness and opening minds are actually pushed by spirituality as well as science. If they weren't, they would have no drive to disprove spirituality. So it's just as much a part of their life as science is. They devote just as much time. But that brings me to my next point, because my atheist part of my personal journey, I wasn't trying to disprove others. I just was separate from any kind of concept of spirituality or science or growth or research or anything. And that's because I'm more masculine energy. That's simply a lack of passion. Even in the parts of my youth where I was more religious-based, I wasn't trying to convert others. Again, more masculine energy. I was trying to understand and research others and why they were the way they were, but I never tried to get them to see the world my way. I would only just speak on the way I see the world. I had no passion to convert others. I only had passion for myself to be the best that I could be. My personal goals and ambition. Not fighting, not converting, just living my best life, doing my thing, which is more masculine energy. It's self-propelled forward motion for self. I think the more masculine energy of these groups are a lot like me, and the more feminine aspects of these groups are the ones that battle. The more feminine energy is more ritualistic. So the more feminine religious people have their ritual of prayer and worship and communion, and they're very passionate about their religion. The more feminine energy of witchcraft, witchcraft has the most feminine energy out there, I believe, out of this whole group. But they have their altars, they have their space, they have their tools for their craft. They have their deities, they have their goddesses, they have their, it's very ritualistic, it's very romantic, and it's very passionate. But the flip side of passion in the romance sense is fury. And that's another part of the witchcraft thing for me, the feminine energy of the romance of it, but don't fuck with me, or the more feminine aspects of atheists are the ones that are very passionate and ritualistic about their scientific proof. Again, I was an atheist who wasn't trying to prove anything. I'm more masculine. But if you're driven by that passion of, you're wrong, let me save you, let me convince you that you are wrong, that's a very feminine energy. And they probably won't like me saying that either, but it's true. The more masculine energy is just out there living their best life. The feminine energy is way too passionate to be told what to do, and way too passionate not to open the minds up of other people into the thing that they hold so dear to their heart and they know to be truth. The witchcraft side of things don't seem to try to convert people, though. I feel like they're so feminine, that they're so passionate, that they hold it so close to their heart, that they really don't want anybody else to join it, because they might not do the craft with as much passion, and therefore don't touch it. Spirituality, like light workers and empaths and things of this nature, starseeds, a really good mix of both masculine and feminine. They still have their rituals and their routines and their love for energy, and a lot of them have a love for the crystals and things like this. Light workers kind of fall a little bit more in the middle of balanced of masculine and feminine. They kind of convert. They're passionate about what they do. They're trying to convert others into it, but they're also doing it not to convert you always, but for self-growth, which is more masculine energy. And then the people that are just into science at all, like that's it, are like, oh, look at this spiral of this leaf. Hey, this leaf has this spiral. Hey, this has this spiral. So there's spirituality in it, but they don't really fucking care. It's still in the same grouping and spectrum. It's just completely masculine. They're just living their best life. They don't care about spirituality. They just notice the number, sequences, and patterns. But it's still there. I don't know. I guess the point is there's no reason for any like debate or war or whatever, because to me it's all the same shit, just different shapes. And I feel like we can go through and be any of these things at any given moment, depending on our level of energy frequency, if we're more feminine or more masculine, or like what changes happen in our life and why, what trauma we come across and how we cope with it, what things cross our path and strike our interest when it does. We could so easily be any of these things. So the battle is just kind of funny to me. I don't know. Pointless. Just some perspectives that I've been thinking about lately. I've been a past life healer since 2017. Even before that ability opened up, I thought, I don't know, maybe I have one past life. Like, I wasn't opposed to the idea, but I just didn't think that I had that many. Once I started to help people see and heal their past lives, I was like, oh shit, I've got quite a few. Okay. And then I started to heal mine. I've got plenty of series on that. Last year, I realized that there were Akashic librarians and Akashic record readers. Okay, bye!